For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy, neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
Hail, sisters and brothers, and hail Satan! We are gathered here to celebrate the spirit of humanity in the dawn of a new American era. In a season when many commemorate the birth of Christ, we commemorate our own Genesis, the enlightenment of all humanity, a revelation of our nature as written in the annals of history, a gift from Lucifer, the Lightbringer, the Morning Star, and the Rebel. We are Satanists. We engender moral, spiritual, and sexual freedom, personal independence, and insist upon personal choice in all things. We care for the significance of the individual spirits and personal moral responsibility. If you stand here today and embrace your nature, are free-thinking, self-governed, and godless, you too are a Satanist in the eyes of many in your own community, including those who represent you in your government. But we are also Americans, a nation born of men and women seeking asylum from a majority religious group in control of political power who punish those who oppose them. In the words of Thomas Jefferson, our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions any more than the opinions in physics or geometry.
For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath of our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart, which, being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air.
It is time now for the 2022 Commonwealth Games opening ceremony here at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham. Let's hand you over to Hazel Irvine and Andrew Cotter.
Now, this is the way to arrive in the stadium, a rich history of car manufacturing in the Midlands. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall to represent Her Majesty the Queen tonight. Now time to meet Stella and the Dreamers.
And they're going to meet some of the key figures from bronze history.
Worcester's dear Edward Elgar dreamed the music of our nation.
We'll talk about the Midlands claim to Charlie Chaplin.
Samuel Johnson.
8 years to compile 40,000 words.
For his dictionary.
And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth.
First came to this city. I had never heard its name, but I would come to understand it through the doctors and nurses at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. It is my honor to say, welcome to Birmingham.
But of course, for all the colour and noise, the characters, the invention, there was a dark side to the Industrial Revolution, a darker side to the bull ring.
As the beat pounds to remind us of the relentless drive of industry, they drag a beast, a bull, 10 metres high.
And enraged by injustice, the bull breaks free and causes pandemonium.
Bulls were baited and sold here in the city centre for centuries.
It's no doubt going to be up to Stella and the Dreamers to try and halt the bull.
Stella offers friendship and compassion to tame the beast.
And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth.
Exhausted, I've been training for this all week. Please welcome our Commonwealth champions.
Northern Ireland.
Martin McHugh, lawn bowler, alongside Michaela Walsh, the boxer who won silver in 2014 and 2018. They are the flag bearers.
Scotland. And it's Mickey Yule, para power lifter, and Kirsty Gilmore, badminton shuttler. Don't they look brilliant? Wales.
Geraint Thomas, former Tour de France winner on the flag there, alongside Tesney Evans, who won bronze in squash in 2018.
Give a big, warmly welcome
To the host nation
Of the Birmingham 2022
Commonwealth Games. Massive 430 strong England team. 300 days, over 7,000 baton bearers have carried the Queen's baton across the Commonwealth, and now completing this epic journey is 10 times Commonwealth Games medal winner, gymnast Max Whitlock. Easy does it. And finally, Max hands over the baton to the President of Commonwealth Games England, Birmingham's own Denise Lewis.
It now gives me the greatest pleasure to declare the 22nd Commonwealth Games open.
Where is my friend when I need you most? If I try to make my way to the ordinary world, I will learn to survive.
Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this.
You know, I know it's drizzling, I know it's chilly, but really this is such a nice way to spend the morning, get some coffee, and come on down here. Now take a look behind me. Being here is really like a fairy tale because each one of these floats, they tell a story. And you guys are right, when you're here, you can not only take it all in and see all the details and all the craftsmanship, all the work that went into all this, months in the making, but you really can smell it too. And it's really just so beautiful to see all this in person. Nothing compares. It's not like on TV. And this is my favorite one over here. You see the little cottage. I mean, it really is like a storybook, like a fairy tale walking through here. We are on Washington, right off of Sierra Madre Boulevard here in Pasadena. And this is Float Fest. It's a 2-mile route. And you can actually stop and ask questions. You have people here that will explain what each float is about, all the little details that go into it. Now, general admission starts at 9 this morning, but as you can see, people are already here, and definitely wear some comfortable shoes because this entire route is about 2 miles. Once you're here, you can get within feet of each float, take pictures, take in the smell, of course. There are 39 floats out on display and a special showcase slot which displays 6 of the Best in Show award-winning floats, including Donate Life, which took home Sweepstakes Award yesterday. Now, floats were out on display yesterday right after the parade, and today is your last chance to see it all.
Feel of it is different. It doesn't do justice on the TV.
It's just beautiful. Obviously, you want to appreciate how many hours of work people put into it.
I mean, you really can't get enough of it. This is not my first time. I've been here before, but walking down this route each time, it really is a special experience because you get to see, you know, what the Rose Parade is all about, up close and personal. Now, just
crowds there already gathered, I assume, right?
Oh yeah, if you're coming right now, you are too late, let me tell you. Well, maybe not too late, but definitely all the primo spots are gone as folks started camping out at about noon today. That's officially when they were allowed to. And I want to introduce you to a veteran parade goer. This is Andolyn Clark. She's been here like every year of her entire life, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. How old are you, Andolyn? 6. So what is your favorite thing about spending New Year's Eve on Colorado Boulevard?
I get to spend time with my friends and family.
Oh, what do you guys do all night?
We eat food and we watch the parade.
I love it. What is this year? What is tonight? Do you know?
New Year's Eve.
I love it. Thank you, Andalyn. Well, believe it or not, as you can see, Andalyn not alone. There's her family right there. And of course, her new family, which is those who choose to stay out here each and every New Year's Eve. It's move-in day on Colorado Boulevard.
Here all night?
As campers grabbed sleeping bags, blew up air mattresses, all to get ready for tonight.
I feel like this is a big year. I want to be here on the curb for the Rose Parade. I want to cheer. I want to eat. I want to sleep in the freezing cold.
And there's no better way to ring in a new year than Pasadena, as thousands camp out to see the 131st Tournament of Roses Parade.
All the roses. It's just amazing how they could just take roses and make such beautiful floats out of them.
For many here, it's their first time. Others, their first time in a long time.
But I still have memories from when I was about 10, camping in a lawn chair on the side of the street in Pasadena. So
the Buckley family drove down from Lemoore early.
Oh gosh, we got here at about 11. And so
A.M.?
A.M. Yeah, A.M. Because we had read online that we could start camping out at noon. So we're like, gotta get in there.
The Adia family came in from Moreno Valley to see the Rancho Verde High School marching band in the parade tomorrow.
We wanted to make sure we got a good spot to see the kids. And of course, all of the nice floats.
But for those making the trip, remember the rules and make sure to prepare. There are no tents, sofas, boxes, or ladders, and definitely no open flames. And of course, staying up till midnight also a must, because before this crowd sees all the floats, they have to welcome in 2020.
Happy New Year!
And let no flower of the spring pass by us.
The garden inside the Allerheiligen cloister in Schaffhausen is a favorite spot for having lunch. Tourists also come here to admire the church buildings. They can see many medicinal plants, like the coneflower or echinacea, used to fight infection. But some of the plants in the garden are poisonous, like the foxglove and the deadly nightshade or belladonna.
After eating 3 of these, an adult starts to show symptoms of poisoning: increased heartbeat, nausea.
In the museum next to the cloister, the visitor can find out more about this and other poisonous plants, but also medicinal and magical ones. Mandrake is a magical plant we also find in Harry Potter. Mandrakes were considered so powerful and precious that counterfeit versions were quite common, like this one.
In the 16th century, 3 crooks in Schaffhausen sold some beetroots they claimed were mandrake. They were arrested and executed for their crime.
Other plants were considered to be magic because they stopped pests from coming into the home, like juniper, which was put under the floor. But it was also thought to be of help in preventing the plague. Since people believed that witches and evil spirits used chimneys to get into the house, they tried to keep them out by burning a small bag of aromatic herbs like thyme in the fireplace. Pharmacists and doctors wear white coats now, but in the past they wore dark ones, as did monks, and probably those wise women who were burned at the stake for their medicinal herb knowledge.
These women knew about herbs which could control fertility. They suffered the most during the Inquisition witch hunts, and their knowledge of plants was virtually wiped out with them.
But luckily not entirely. The church sometimes simply changed the names of the popular plants, giving them an angel's name, for example. And the cloisters had their own medicinal herb gardens, making a very important contribution to their community's health. No aphrodisiac plants are to be seen in the show, which avoids the theme. What you do learn about is the language of flowers to express love in the 19th century.
It began in the Middle Eastern harems, where written messages were forbidden, so people had a code language for plants and flowers. Imported into Victorian England, it spread to the rest of Europe.
People didn't just use roses and forget-me-nots, but had a more sophisticated flower language for love and desire.
And let no flower of the spring pass by us.
The War of the Roses story begins with England and France already 100 years deep into a classic medieval slap fight where England's king decides to make everything worse by bypassing his still very much alive sons to make his grandson king instead. Henry IV of House Lancaster calls BS and takes the throne in 1399, much to the annoyance of House York. Then a couple Henrys later, King Henry VI blows England's lead and loses the 100 Years' War, so the Yorkies sweep in to take the reins as Lord Protectors. The Lancasters aren't thrilled about this power grab, so they kick the Yorkies out of court and then proceed to get trashed by them at the Battle of St. Albans in 1455. This changes the game from convoluted backroom palace drama to full-on Civil War mode. Advisors switch sides, nobles and royals drop into and out of exile like it's a semester abroad, and battles erupt all across the English countryside. Several stabbings later, the now clinically insane Henry VI works out a compromise deal for peace with the Yorks and formalized a royal succession, but all of that goes out the window when the Yorks decisively kick their asses in 1471 and take the crown for keeps. This unfortunately goes south when the York King Edward dies because it turns out all of his kids are illegitimate due to his chronic condition of having a secret wife, so the kids get locked in jail and mysteriously disappear forever. Convenient. Another York crowns himself king, but a Lancaster rolls into England with a French army to swipe the crown and declare himself Henry VII. Then he ends the war for good by marrying a York, uniting their families under the new royal house of Tudor. After over a century of crown shuffling, 3 decades of open war, a dozen major battles, and a much more satisfying ending than Game of Thrones. Whew.
Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressings of our education. He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grieved.
As more people get vaccinated in the United States, close to all schools are expected to fully reopen in the fall. At least that is the hope of the Biden administration. At the same time, in a recent interview with CNN, Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona says it won't be easy to reopen all schools, and there is, quote, much work to be done. The pandemic ended up being a test or opportunity for parents to fully take control of their children's education. And some families, including a rising number of Black families, won't be sending their children back to in-person school. Instead, they will continue to be educated at home. And in many cases, this is to protect them from institutional racism and stereotyping. Across the country, the Black community has been leading the way in homeschooling. This has been the case for some time now. A recent U.S. Census Bureau report shows that homeschooling rates increased among Black families from 3.3% in the spring of 2020 to 16.1% in the fall of 2020. In 2009, Cheryl Fields Smith, an associate professor at the University of Georgia College of Education, published a study of 24 Black families, including middle-class and wealthy families in and around Atlanta. Most of the parents told Field Smith that the decision to homeschool their children had been a wrenching one, but that they had no choice as to they did it to avoid racism and inequality in the school system. According to this study, even in wealthy families, parents said their kids were frequently punished or seen as troublemakers. In some cases, students have been inappropriately recommended to special education classes or medication. Other students were bullied.
Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressings of our education.
For some black parents, the pandemic takes a back seat when they make a decision to send their children physically back to school or not. Joining me to discuss more is Casey Parks, contributing writer for The New Yorker. So I was actually shocked by this. I did not know so many black families were turning to homeschooling and that so many were choosing not to send their children back to in-person learning. Why is this?
Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
Before the pandemic, the number of black families choosing to homeschool had already doubled from about 84,000 to about 150,000. And as you quoted Dr. Field Smith's study, parents were seeing their kids get sent to the office. They were being put in special ed when they weren't really special ed. They were being put on medication. They were being bullied. Kids would read textbooks, and the textbooks would just be full of only white people. Like maybe you get remarks, maybe Booker T and peanut butter, but otherwise, like it's just all white people in the textbooks. And more, even before the pandemic, parents had decided, like, I can do better than this. Like, I want to teach my kids that we come from power and strength. I can teach my kids more Black history. I can keep my kids from being bullied or sent to the office. And then during the pandemic, a lot of Black parents got to hear their children's classrooms for the first time. Like, usually you don't get to sit in on the class and hear how teachers talk to your children. My story takes place in Detroit, and some of the parents talked about hearing their teachers just like berate their kids on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And some of them, like one mom was just like crying in the bathroom, like hearing how the teacher was talking. And this mom, she wanted to protect her son. And a lot of the kids were performing behind grill. And once they started learning at home, they actually caught up. Like one teenager I talked to was a grade or two behind in math, but like during the pandemic, she's caught up. She's doing better in math than she's ever done before. And parents are seeing that success and want to stay on that train.
So is your finding in this that there is a kind of a class structure to this? I'm assuming that if you have the, I don't want to say luxury, privilege, whatever, but you have the time, money to be able to be home with a child. That is not the reality for a lot of people working at the lower end of the income spectrum.
Yeah, Dr. Field Smith, actually, when she did her research, she expected that it would be mostly, I think she expected that it would be mostly middle-class families, or maybe you'd have to stay at home with your kids. She's actually a single mother herself, so she was kind of like, I remember she told me when she found out, she was like, we do this? She's a single Black mom. But when she did her study, like, the parents were from all socioeconomic. She had one family in public housing. Several of the families were making under $15,000 a year. She did have a couple of wealthy families, but people are somehow making it happen. I mean, the pandemic, quite a few of the families that I met in Detroit, they were home, not by choice. Some of them had been laid off from Chrysler. But I think if you have teenagers, it's easier to do. I'm not sure how they will all balance it once they go back to school, but some parents have decided that it's just worth it because they remember from their own schooling experiences like what went wrong for them, and they want better for their children, and some of them are deciding better is staying at home.
So let me ask you one last question. We don't have less than a minute, but what does this mean for the in-person school ecosystem if these highly motivated, engaged parents are keeping their children out of those schools? Does it just concentrate more problems or not? Like I'm just trying to understand what it does to the school system among the people who go back to school.
Yeah, you used the word wrenching. I mean, parents were really agonized before doing this. I mean, just from a financial standpoint, when they homeschool, the schools lose like $8,000 per student. So you're hobbling that school, which might mean teachers lose their jobs or kids have fewer supplies in the schools. But also, yeah, I mean, the parents in Detroit, these are highly engaged parents. They were volunteering at the schools. And some of them are still volunteering and still showing up to support the schools, even though they've pulled their children out. But school systems are definitely worried about losing these parents and, frankly, the money that comes attached to the children.
Casey, thank you so much. This is very illuminating. I learned something tonight. Thank you very much for being here.
Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressings of our education. He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his Father.
And it's a title given to Christ, Philippians 2:11. And my name translates in the Hebrew language as Yahweh. So I went on to Amazon Prime. I was like, you know what, let me see if there are any documentaries on Yahweh. So went in the search bar, typed in Yahweh. That came up. Went out and shared it on my platform. That was my night.
He professeth to have the knowledge of God.
In terms of the backlash, or what people call it, we're in 2022. History is not supposed to be hidden from anybody. It's not about educating yourself on what Semitism is and what anti-Semitism is. It's really about learning the root words of where these come from and understanding that this is an African heritage.
And he calleth himself the child of the Lord.
That is also belonging to the people. Africa is in it, whether we want to dismiss it or not. So the claims of anti-Semitism and who are the original chosen people of God, and we go into these religious conversations and it's a big no-no. I don't live my way like that. I don't live my life that way, excuse me.
He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his Father.
I'm here to be divisive, so they could push their agenda. I don't want to say they, because I'm not identifying any one group or race of people, but I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community. And what I post does not mean that I support everything that's being said or everything that's being done, or I'm campaigning for anything. All I do is post things for my people in my community and those that it's actually going to impact. Anybody else that has criticism, it obviously wasn't meant for them.
He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion.
Hopefully I'm understanding what you said, and I want to make sure I get it right, because I don't want to misquote.
I don't expect understanding from a media conglomerate group that sincerely talks about the game of basketball, and then we bring up religion as if it's correlative at times when it's convenient for people to bring it up. So please just be direct with your question so we can move on from this and I can talk about the game and go home to my son Elohim and my wife Marlene, okay?
We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his Father.
Am I to take it that this was, what you shared was not something that you've even watched? This was, you did watch it, or either watch it or read it.
I had a lot of time to read a lot. Read a whole bunch. Good and bad about the truth of our world.
So then do you, I guess, understand or not understand those that might imply that that work had anti-Semitic leanings in it? I only ask this because the tweet is still up there, so
we're in 2022. It's on Amazon, a public platform. Whether you want to go watch it or not is up to you. There's things being posted every day. I'm no different than the next human being, so don't treat me any different.
Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the Son of God, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected.
You guys come in here and make up this powerful influence I have over top of the adultery of, oh, you cannot post that. Why not? Why not? Everybody posts everything else. You saw the word nigger going up on Twitter, right? I don't hear uproar on that. I'm not here to be divisive on what's going on this or that. I'm not comparing Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing white to black. I'm not doing that. That conversation is dismissive, and it constantly revolves around the rhetoric of who are the chosen people of God. And I'm not here to argue over a person or a culture or religion or what they believe. No, this is what is here. It's on a public platform. Did I do anything illegal? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did I do anything illegal? Did I hurt anybody? Did I harm anybody? Am I going out and saying that I hate one specific group of people? So out of all the judgment that people got from me posting, I just, without talking to me, and then I respect what Joe said, but there has a lot to do with the not ego or pride of how proud I am to be an African heritage, but also to be living as a free black man here in America, knowing the historical complexities for me to get here. So I'm not gonna stand down on anything that I believe in. I'm only gonna get stronger because I'm not alone. I have a whole army around me.
Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience.
Kyrie, while we're on the topic of promotion, why did you decide to promote something that Alex Jones said?
That was a few weeks ago. I do not stand with Alex Jones' position, narrative, court case that he had with Sandy Hook, or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post from Alex Jones that he did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies in America of occults, and it's true. So I wasn't identifying with anything of being a campaignist for Alex Jones or anything. I'm just there to post. And it's funny, and it's actually hilarious, because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see. It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist.
Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book.
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
Put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me in front of
putting it out there,
the
people
title?
are going to say that you are
Yeah, I put it out
promoting.
there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but it's not
You put
stuff,
things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff
Great.
is
So
not
let's move on.
filled
Let's
with
move on.
anti-Semitic
Let's
stuff.
move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another
You're free
human
to
being.
post
I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that by
I don't have to understand anything from you.
It's not me.
Nothing.
By
It's no
posting
people
what
that you're
you
making up,
did,
bro. Move on.
But by posting
Move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
anybody
Do
is
you
going
guys
to
have
look
any more
at
questions?
it and they're going to say,
You guys have any more
does he have
questions? Because this is going to be a
anti-Semitic
clip. This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
Kyrie, basketball related.
Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them. As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. For God created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them. As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. For God created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it.
Joel chapter 3. For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. They have also divided up my land. They have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Indeed, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coasts of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me, swiftly and speedily I will return your retaliation upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my prized possessions. Also the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken. Proclaim this among the nations. Prepare for war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble and come all you nations, and gather together all around. Cause your mighty ones to go down there, O Lord. Let the nations be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and moon will grow dark, and the stars will diminish their brightness. The Lord also will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem. The heavens and earth will shake, but the Lord will be a shelter for his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So you shall know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion my holy mountain. Then Jerusalem shall be holy, and no aliens shall ever pass through her again. And it will come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drip with new wine, the hills shall flow with milk, and all the brooks of Judah shall be flooded with water. A fountain shall flow from the house of the Lord, and water the valley of acacias. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom a desolate wilderness, because of violence against the people of Judah, for they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall abide forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will acquit them of the guilt of bloodshed, whom I had not acquitted, for the Lord dwells in Zion.
Psalm 23, a psalm of David.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.